And so, Emily, I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay. Thanks for having me, everybody. I appreciate being here this evening. And I have on my notes that I did want to acknowledge Bob's passing. I saw Lisa's email earlier this week, and I really enjoyed getting to know Bob, and I know that he will be very missed in this group. So my condolences. And Tom, I did not know Jack, but he sounds like he was also an important guy in Albemarle County over the years. Um, so I was not planning to do slides, but then I was getting ready for the meeting this evening and I was looking at the slides. It's actually been over a year since I've been to update you all. I was looking back at my notes and my last slide deck from last time I updated you all, and it was in January of 25. And so now here it is 14 months later. And so I opened up my presentation, and then I thought it'd be fun to sort of update the slides because I think it's visually interesting to show you what we've done in the last year. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up the slides and I'm going to share them for a few minutes, and then I'll go back to the update that I was planning to give. Peter and James sent me some questions that you all are interested in. So I'll address those. And then I tried to pull out some of the sort of most interesting programmatic updates. And then, of course, I'm happy to take questions. So can you all see my screen?
Yep.
So these are the exact same slides from last year, last I was here. And I didn't change any of the words on them, but I put those symbols up so you could sort of see what we've been up to over the last year and a half or year and a few months. And so the blue circular symbol means that is something that's still ongoing. The check mark means that it's been accomplished or it's done. The little yellow arrows mean that we've pushed it forward. So this is all the things I updated you all on last year when I was here. And some of these I will talk about in my my notes that I put together for tonight. But I won't spend a lot of time talking about the things that are checked off. But I'm happy to ask questions. So then let's see, I'm trying to flip to my transportation slide. So again, you can see some check marks, some ongoing, and some pushed forward. And then this was our other projects and initiatives I talked about. So I am pleased that there's only one X, and that was that sustainability engagement coordinator position did get taken back by the city. We were not able to hire a seventh person for our sustainability office. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm just going to talk so this can be sort of a conversational update. So the questions that James and Peter shared in advance, the first one was, what's the status of the Resilient Together project? So I know there's been a lot of talk about this recently, and I can't really speculate too much about what is going on in the county, but I will share that in the city, we are continuing to work with our UVA and Albemarle colleagues on our engagement around the project, the community, the climate resilience cohort piece of the Resilient Together project. And we have gotten to the point in the plan drafting that we've broken up the planning by each organization. So I am continuing to work on pushing the city's resilience plan forward. The light is at the end of the tunnel. I actually am hoping to start the internal staff review next week, which I'm very excited about. This has been a long time coming. I think last time I was here, another question that you all submitted is the impact of the federal administration on projects. And the biggest impact has probably been the big $500,000 grant that we had related to the Resilient Together project that got pulled back by the Trump administration. And so that did cause a delay. But my anticipated timeline for bringing the resilience plan forward for public comment is over the summer. And Charlottesville has a new public engagement platform. It's called Connect Charlottesville, and we're going to try it out for the public comment period for the resilience plan, which I'm excited about. And then so I anticipate after that taking it for a public hearing with the Planning Commission and then to council. And we anticipate having it as an amendment to the comprehensive plan, which is what we also did when we had the climate action plan adopted. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about the direction of the resilience plan and where it's headed. The next question that you all had asked was about our Biophilic Cities initiative. So we were excited that we too have joined the Biophilic Cities network in the past couple of months. Charlottesville is a city that loves our natural spaces, and our urban forester does a lot of work with invasive species removal and reforestation and things like that within our city properties. We have our CHIP, Charlottesville Invasive Plant Partnership, CHIP. So we're trying to tie all of the nature-based solutions type activities that we're doing and communicate about it better and help people understand that all of these disparate elements that we're working on in this space are all related to being a biophilic city. Since we made that commitment, Charlottesville also became a bee city. That initiative was driven by Parks and Rec, but Office of Sustainability is trying to really support that. And so we're trying to do what we can to connect our community members with both the natural world, help them to understand how it supports our human health and our ecological health, and to really use that Biophilic Cities membership to talk in more and better about all of our nature-based solutions initiatives. I started to talk a little bit about state and federal priority changes and how that has impacted us. I will say the pullback of federal funding has affected two projects that the Office of Sustainability has been working on, which is the Resilient Together project. We lost a $500,000 environmental justice government to government grant. The county was the lead, but the city and UVA were primary partners in that through the Resilient Together project. That was really disappointing. I mean, those funds were all earmarked for community organizations who are going to help us with community engagement for the resilience plan, and also seed money for resilience projects that those organizations were planning to lead. And so the pullback of those funds really had a tangible impact on our community. And it's been really disappointing and also frankly difficult, because we had relationships with organizations who were part of the cohort of supporting the grant, and people have been really kind, but it's difficult. It's been a difficult position to be in. And then also the other grant that was impacted was our urban forest management plan revision. That was funded through a USDA grant that was also largely pulled back, and we have been able to fill the gaps of that funding with local funds. And so that project has been delayed, but is ongoing. So we're updating our urban forest management plan, which also is related to the Biophilic Cities initiative. I will say, and I've heard Sam, the city manager, say quite a few times, just because of what's happening at the federal level, the priorities of our community have not changed, right? So we still have the support of our elected officials and of our administrative officials in the city. And I feel like as a city staff person, I have witnessed sort of a renewal of commitment to this work by city staff from across the organization. I think that there's a sense of this work has to be sort of held on to at the local level. because we have to steward this work while everything is crazy at the federal level, right? It's so important to keep climate and sustainability work going at the local level when there's a pullback. And I think that Charlottesville is embracing that and willing to, be a steward to shepherd this seed through the hard times at the federal level. It's difficult because, it's a tough budget season. I think that we saw that we're seeing that at the state level, and it'll trickle down to the local level. Schools need a lot of money, and we have to put our money where our mouth is, right? Of course. But we're definitely still, I'm hearing my leadership maintain their commitment to climate action in spite of all the swimming upstream, shall we say. The next question you all submitted and were interested in beforehand was updates regarding our electrified bus service. So I don't know if you all have noticed, we now have 2 electric school buses taking kids to school around Charlottesville. Those joined our fleet around the holidays, and so that's very exciting. We have not yet done a ribbon cutting for that. We're working on that. That is to come, but we had the chargers installed through a Dominion program, and those 2 buses, the funds for those came through EPA's Clean School Bus program. And so far, so good. We're hearing that the drivers really like them and students like them. And so that's great. I heard from Garland just a few weeks ago that the first 2 electric transit buses are scheduled to be delivered in May. The charging infrastructure for those buses is separate from the school bus chargers, and the installation of those chargers is currently underway. And then I have heard that the second round of 2 buses, so the battery electric transit buses number 3 and 4, have been ordered, but I anticipate they'll be delivered sometime in 2027. So that's what I'm hearing. And just because I know this is a very interested group, but I'll just share, we have not had any conversations about hydrogen in quite a long time. I feel like the current administration is really pulling the plug on hydrogen in many ways. And I think that's not going to be, my just personal opinion is that that's not going to be financially viable anytime soon. So I think we're just really rooting for the battery electric to be very successful once those hit the transit fleet. And so the last question that you all submitted before I just go into my other updates were related to the gas decarbonization study. So after the completion of the utility-led study, the Office of Sustainability certainly still had some questions about avenues that we felt like the study didn't explore very deeply. And, we wrote a memo, wrote up our thoughts, and have been continuing to track. We participate in a lot of learning groups around utility decarbonization and rate setting, and, just continue to actively monitor that space. But an exciting piece of information that I have permission to share this evening is that C3 received a grant to conduct an additional study that attempts to answer some of those unanswered questions. And so it's a privately funded grant. I don't know anything about the details of that, but they have retained a consultant and to support the study. And there's a lot of smart people working on it, and they have cooperation and participation from the city at all levels. So the city manager's office is supportive of this. They've involved some of my utility colleagues, and then the Office of Sustainability has also been consulting. So it's in the early stages. I know that C3 is planning to start doing some publicity and even some community engagement around the project. But I'm not really at liberty to share too much else, but Carolyn said I could share that at a high level with this group because I know there's definite interest in that. So I mean, I'm personally really excited to see what will come out of that. I think the last study definitely, had left some big questions in my mind about alternative paths that were not considered in that initial utility study. And I think as a small city that owns our utility, we really have an opportunity to lead in this space. And so I'm excited by the possibilities of what could come out of this. Does anybody have any questions before I move on? Randy.
So I was very disappointed the state legislature did not move forward with a bill to update Virginia's building code standards back up to the international level. Has the city ever lobbied for such a bill, and could they do so again?
So we put forward a couple of legislative priorities. That was not one of them, just because we didn't feel like we were concerned that wouldn't get a lot of traction. We do a lot of, so the sustainability staff of Charlottesville are members of a network called the Virginia Environmental Energy and Environmental Peer Network. And we have a person on staff who provides us legislative support. And we do work together with other municipalities to do some advocacy work. And we actually Charlottesville put forward a budget request for funding for the resource hub this year, which this group knows about. And so we kind of put our eggs in that basket because we knew we were going to have to pick carefully about where we put our advocacy energy. But I will tell you a little bit in a minute about our green building standards that were on council's agenda last night. Anybody else before I move on to the next thing? Okay, so mark your calendars.
Excuse me, Emily. Sorry, I was muted when I was trying to ask a question. In one of your slides, you had something about a master performance agreement. What's that about?
Yeah, so that is an energy performance contract. So we have a design build contract with an energy performance contractor, and we have this master agreement in place where we do energy savings projects in city facilities, and then they guarantee us a financial savings, and that mechanism helps to pay for the projects. Okay, so we just, I'm going to talk about municipal energy efficiency projects we've been working on. So I'll just jump to that, I guess. So we have been doing a series of these energy improvement projects in city facilities. We just finished it was lighting, plumbing, and HVAC retrofits in City Hall Annex, and Key Rec. And so we just finished that. We bundled those projects since they're in close proximity to each other. And we just moved through those buildings. It was predominantly lighting improvements, but a small HVAC improvement and also some water savings initiatives too. So that's already starting to save the city money with the energy savings from those projects. And then the next round of those energy performance projects are in the planning phase, and that will include lighting improvements at K-Tech and a couple of other elementary schools. And just for this group, I know you all will be interested. Since I talked to you last time, we have installed and it's operating the solar PV system at K-Tech, which is the city's largest solar array. To date, it's a 262 kilowatt system, and it's generating about 60% of K-Tech's power needs. And after we do that lighting project, it'll generate even more. And so we're excited about that project. But that's what that is, Peter.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I was going to say, save the date. I will be giving our third annual climate action update to council at the 4:00 work session on June the 15th. So that's upcoming. I guess you guys are getting a preview tonight. But I've been doing that at a June or July council meeting for the last couple of years. And there will be an accompanying report. And also we're working on the calendar year 2024 greenhouse gas inventory that will be included in that presentation and report. So you all have asked questions already about high performance buildings and our energy improvement projects. So last night, Crystal was at council and she presented the city's high performance building standards. This is a set of guidelines that codifies high performance building practices for city and school buildings. They did not end up passing the resolution last night because council ended up asking some questions and they wanted some clarifying language added about what facilities these standards will apply to, but they will apply to all city-owned and operated facilities. So any municipal buildings and any school buildings. They will not default apply to any city-funded projects. So like a affordable housing project that the city is part of. But they certainly could. That's more of a policy decision. And we are hoping that these standards not only act as a guide for what the city is committed to doing, but also for other developers, whether that's affordable housing developers or private developers or whatever, because they are a good collection of best practices for high performance buildings. And we want them to be used as an example for the community. So that's a project that's been on our climate action work plan for a number of years. And we're really excited to have brought it to council and to be very close to the finish line on that project. Another sort of complicated, wonky thing that you may have seen Crystal at council talking about recently is power purchase agreements. So we are currently getting much closer to the finish line on power purchase agreements for solar on Charlottesville High School and Charlottesville Middle School. Those are our two biggest roofs in the city's building portfolio, and they can hold solar systems that are closer to a megawatt. So almost 4 times bigger than the one at K-Tech. So that kind of capital outlay that's required up front is not something the city can afford. And so we have to go through this alternative financing mechanism, which is a power purchase agreement, to get those systems built. So it's kind of complicated. We have to really line up the pieces, and we're very close to having signed agreements. We're really hoping to have signed agreements for the middle school. Let's see, is it the high school first and then the middle school? Anyway, one of the buildings is technically owned by the school board and one is owned by the city. And so it's been complicated, but we're getting there. And we're really, we're working with a developer who is determined to have those projects finished such that they will be eligible for the federal tax credits that will expire. So we're working very hard to get those over the finish line. Also related to saving energy, not in the building space, but in the municipal portfolio. Last time I was here, I talked about our landscaping equipment electrification pilot that we've been working on with Parks and Rec. By all reports, they love all their electric equipment and they want more. So we are pleased that they have found that equipment to be meeting their needs, and we're supporting them in getting the downtown mall equipment fully electrified, not the Zamboni thing that they drive around, but all their handheld equipment. So that's been a good project. That's very public facing, and we've had a lot of community support about that. So now I'm going to pivot and talk a little bit about community energy efficiency and energy savings. I'm really pleased to report that our resource hub has been pretty successful. Nearly 200 families in Charlottesville have come to the hub for information, and the conversion rate to people taking action is over 50%, which is something we're really pleased about. So people call up Rosina and they ask her questions and they sign up to get an energy audit, and over half of them then take some kind of action to make an energy improvement in their home. We have been pleased to launch 2, I call them sister or handshake programs to the resource hub this year. So in July, we launched what we call the Residential Retrofit Mini Grant. And it is up to $2,000 per household. It's not income qualifying. It's available to any Charlottesville resident to make energy improvements. So they come in, they have to get an energy audit, and then we give them $1,000 towards a heat pump, or $500 towards a heat pump water heater, or $250 towards electrical upgrades to support that type of those types of equipment, or attic insulation. And so the project or the program was originally intended to sort of fill the gap or be a bridge between when the federal program launched that was going to be run through the state. It's looking like that money might never come. And so it might just end up being the program for our area for the time being. But we are happy to have helped over 60 families so far since July. Randy, I see you have your hand up.
Emily, would any of these programs help somebody install a charger for an electric car?
That's a great question. I guess if you needed, so our home program, so we partner with LEAP on the home program. And I guess you could, that's a great question. Dominion had a program for EV charging, and then I heard recently they rolled it back. We do have a program, we have a different program for EV charging, but it has to be publicly available. That might be something we need to work on. I guess you could possibly use the mini grant funding if you needed an electrical upgrade for an EV charger. That would be a $250 value.
It cost me $3,300 to get the charger put in my house, and a big chunk of that was the wire, that heavy duty wire to carry 60 amps. Because unfortunately, my circuit breaker box and my garage are on the opposite ends of the house.
Yeah.
And so $250 is nice, but nowhere near enough.
Right. Peter, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I've got two questions. So one, what info do you have on the success or the prospects for funding for the Energy Resource Hub that was put forward to Deeds and
they didn't fund it. Yeah, they didn't fund it. We are going to continue to fund the Resource Hub with climate program dollars for at least the next year. And we're going to continue working on other funding sources for the hub, because I do really feel like it is having an impact. Like, we hear from a lot of different, my colleagues from other communities are, call us up and say, can you tell us how you launched that and how you're doing that? And, Virginia Energy has a program recently launched called Energy Connect, but it's mostly an online resource. And, it really makes a difference. That human element is the special sauce, to have a person who's like out in the community. You can call her on the telephone. She's not a bot. It really makes a big difference, I think.
And I guess secondly, are you excited about the prospects for maybe some RGGI funding coming in on the energy efficiency front?
I am. So, let's see. For the RGGI funds for low income weatherization, I need to do some research and learn about how municipalities access those funds, whether it's if you have to be like a weatherization provider, or if municipalities can access those funds. Like, I understand accessing funds through the Community Flood Preparedness Fund, which is the other half of the RGGI money, much better. And we actually currently have a pot of $360,000 from the Flood Preparedness Fund, which is RGGI money, which I'll talk about that in a minute. But yes, I'm very glad that we're rejoining Reggie, and those dollars are going to be flowing again soon. Tom, you have your hand up.
Yeah, hi. I have a somewhat different question. I hope this is a good point to ask it. But I understood from Peggy Gilgas, who I think you communicated with recently, about it's a bureaucratic question. And my understanding is that you mentioned the Sustainability Office. And my understanding from Peggy is that within the last couple of years, in the city, some somewhat different environmental programs were consolidated together into the Sustainability Office, which reports directly, I think, to the city manager or something like that. And I'm curious because some of us, Albemarle County has environmental programs in different sorts of departments that are headed by people who aren't involved with environmental stuff primarily. And a few of us anyway are hoping to persuade the county to create an integrated environmental sustainability department that reports directly. And I was curious, can you comment on, from a bureaucratic point of view, was there any special, I mean, I see the scientific benefit easily, but from a bureaucrat's point of view, I mean, bureaucrats have to be sold to do things like this. And I'm wondering what this, the city leaders thought as a good reason to do this from a point of view of their own structures and processes.
Yeah. So when I first joined the city, about 3.5 years ago, the Environmental Sustainability Division was part of Public Works. And so we were like the Environmental Sustainability Division of Public Works. And so we were much further down in our chain of command. But then after we passed the Climate Action Plan, and you'll remember that was happening around the same time that we had new leadership in the city. So Sam Sanders went from being a deputy city manager to the city manager. And when that happened, one of the first decisions that he made that impacted us was to elevate us to this standalone office within the city manager's office. And I mean, it's been a wonderful change from my perspective because, Crystal reports directly to James Freeze, who's the deputy city manager. It's much easier to get decisions made, and we are empowered to really work across the city organization. And so what we have done is we have tried to help people understand, like, our role is not just compliance and like doing a few little things at the edges. We try to sell ourselves to other city departments. We're like an in-house sustainability consultant. If you need help with any sustainability questions, energy questions, come to us. We've got technical expertise. We've got Trey and I both have building science backgrounds. Crystal's an environmental scientist by training. We have other like well-trained professionals on our team. Like, we are here to be a resource and to help everyone with operationalize sustainability. And, I can only speak for the city, but it's been very effective. The city manager says it, like, we're operationalizing sustainability. These people will help you. And so, it's taken a little while for some departments to like realize that we're here to help, but it's starting to catch on.
Right.
And it's been I really think, elevating us to that standalone office, other than like repeatedly saying, this is how we do things in Charlottesville, is the kind of the number one thing that the city manager's office has done to say that they support sustainability, right? Because they empowered us to be able to help other departments.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to pivot back to where I was, which is last night, other than the high performance building standards, we had another item on the consent agenda, which was a small business and nonprofit energy efficiency program. It's like the sister program to our residential retrofit program. So that program is a partnership with C3. They have technical folks on their staff who can do level 1 energy audits. So like a commercial energy audit. So they will help businesses and or nonprofits who own their building do energy efficiency projects in the commercial space. So we have not launched that program yet, but it just got through the second reading at council last night. And so we will be spinning that program up in the next couple of months. We've been saying since the get-go that the Energy Resource Hub is also meant to support businesses and nonprofits, not just renters and homeowners. And so this is like kind of putting our money where our mouth is and actually providing some support to our commercial small business folks in the community. So I hope that will be successful. And we're excited to be launching that program. We talked a little bit, since we talked about transit and school buses, about fleet electrification. That work is quite multifaceted. There's a lot of divisions and elements of the city's fleet. We've been working quite closely with Public Works. They are starting to integrate more electric vehicles into the fleet, like facilities maintenance has gotten a couple of electric vehicles over the past couple of months. And we have a newish fleet manager, and he seems pretty on board with electric vehicles, and he's been buying a lot of electric vehicles. And we're trying to help the charging infrastructure keep up and be in the right places, because I think like in the next fiscal year, I think a couple of parks vehicles will be electrified. So we need to make sure there's some charging over at the parks shop, and we need to make sure there's a little bit more charging at Public Works. And so we're supporting the planning of that. The community EV infrastructure study that we did last year and is complete included some fleet, small light duty fleet electrification elements in that study. And so we're using that as a guide to get us moving on fleet charging. We did put in a CIP request for some charging infrastructure that I don't think is going to make it into this year's CIP. So we'll probably stick with spending some climate money on level 2 charging sprinkled around. We've also had the exciting news that our police and fire departments are starting to integrate electric vehicles, and rumor has it there's some vehicles ordered, and we're working to support charging being ready for when those vehicles come. So that's kind of cool. We're not seeing too many electric police vehicles in Virginia yet.
They do accelerate very quickly.
They sure do. I always tell my husband that my EV makes me feel like a teenager again. So I just mentioned our EV infrastructure study. That's complete. I think there will be some near-term work that comes out of that. One thing that we are really lacking in Charlottesville is a right-of-way charging policy. That's something that's kind of wonky that we're starting to think about. How can we facilitate folks charging at home if they don't have a driveway? So we're thinking about that as a policy question as staff. And the other thing you all might be interested in related to community transportation is our e-bike voucher program. We're entering 2026 is the second year of that program, and we have really revamped it this year to try to make it more equitable. So last year in the original program design, we really wanted it to be as simple as possible to administer. And we were trying to work with like our human services colleagues to try to come up with a more targeted low income program. But that proved really hard. So we wanted to really integrate equity into the existing program. So now the e-bike program is tiered. And so anyone at any income level is eligible for a $500 voucher. If you are at 80% AMI or less, you are eligible for a $1,000 voucher. And if you are enrolled in a couple of different federal benefits programs, you're eligible for a $1,500 voucher. So spreading that out allows us to offer more vouchers per quarter for the same amount, for the same investment. So now we give away 36 vouchers per quarter rather than 25. And we're hoping to be able to serve a broader number of community members, because we were hearing from people, especially low income folks, that they would win a voucher, but then $1,000 wasn't enough to cover the e-bike, that like a decent e-bike and a helmet and a lock. And so we are restructuring the program, and we've so far had one drawing, and signups will be open again starting April 1st. So they'll be open for the month of April. Folks are enjoying that program. Okay, those are all the big things. I will say we have some upcoming events. We are partnering with the Botanical Garden of the Piedmont to host an eco fair this year, trying to bring together a lot of people at the Botanical Gardens on April 18th from 9 to 2. So that's the weekend before Earth Day. Gabe from my office is really spearheading that in partnership with the gardens. And then my colleague Jill, who is our water conservation coordinator, is doing a spring rain barrel workshop at Star Hill at Dairy Market on April 23rd. And that'll be from 6 to 7. And you can learn about rain barrels. And I think there's a cost. I can't remember if she gives them away or if you have to pay for them. But anyway, you can get a rain barrel and go to her workshop. Whew, I think those are the highlights. Kara, is your hand up?
Yes. What was the date of the last one? I couldn't write fast enough. The rain barrel.
April 23rd, which is a Thursday.
And it's
so
at
the day
Star
after.
Hill?
It's at Star Hill. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. It's been a while, but you clearly have had a lot going on over the
Never a
last
dull moment at the
12
Charlottesville
12 to
office of
14
the
months.
Sandwood.
lot of things in progress there. So, Diane, did you have a question?
Mm-hmm. I was listening to what you were saying about the EV chargers, and do you foresee like an increase in public level 3 chargers being installed? Because there's just one at Wegmans, and then there's one at Target, and that's it.
Yeah. So I don't foresee the city investing in fast charging, publicly available fast charging. It's just so expensive. We're very aware that the EVgo chargers at Water Street Garage and Barracks Road have been removed. So those chargers were paid for with Volkswagen settlement money, and I guess they had a 5-year contract. And as soon as the 5 years was up, EVgo pulled those chargers.
Okay.
I think the financial model for it is just, I think the margins are really thin. And even though we have a pretty high level of EV adoption in Charlottesville, I think that the other thing that I wonder is, the county has 3 fast chargers and they subsidize the price. It's cheap. And I think that it might keep private companies from wanting to make the investment because they can't compete with the cheap charging at the county office building. So
those are level 2, I think. Those are level 2.
They have both. They have fast chargers and level 2 charging.
Okay. That's new.
Yeah.
To me.
And so I do wonder if that keeps some private charging developers out of our downtown area.
Yeah.
Because they just can't compete with that. And so this is a sort of a sticky wicket in terms of how to attract private developers to invest in EV charging. We do have a program, and there is one project in progress that our program will support funding for 2 additional level 2 charging near downtown.
Okay. All right.
But it's hard. The fast charging development is tricky.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also great great summary of everything you're doing and really on the ball on so many projects. So keep up the
Thanks.
good work. Yeah.
Thanks.
And yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, we're lucky to have a very fearless leader in Crystal,
Oh,
and
good. Okay.
and really great community support, elected official support, and leadership level, like executive leadership level support.
Mhm.
So that
And
really
it's good
helps.
to hear that people are not totally discouraged, from the federal situation and just kind of have to persevere and keep moving forward. So
Yeah.
that's good to
Local,
hear.
local is where it's at these days.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Okay.
I was pretty intrigued by the C3 gas decarbonization sort of independent study after the previous study left something to be desired.
Yeah.
But I just want to give, it's kind of maybe a little bit self-promotion, but I want to give James a shout out to James for keeping that issue, raising that issue really to the forefront, I thought. He's been on this issue for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So just props to James for that. It appears that other people have recognized the importance of the issue.
Well, thank you, Peter, but I haven't done much in the recent term, but I think, Emily knows when you look at the overall emissions of our community, emissions associated with that gas utility are a big slice of that pie. And so, starting to understand what's possible and what some potential avenues or directions forward. What I'm pleased about from the update, Emily, on that is that it hasn't been dropped, right? The
Mhm.
consultant's report came back. It was clear listening to city council that several councilors felt it either wasn't quite on target or left things to be desired. And I'm glad to hear that it didn't stop there, that there's some efforts afoot to address the gaps and continue the planning. So I appreciate that update. One thing, and it may be too early to know with the C3 study, do you have a sense of their timeline about when they might be hoping to have something back to the city and then maybe available publicly?
Yeah, I think that their goal is to have something by the end of the calendar year,
Okay.
which is
All
a
right.
pretty fast timeline
Yeah.
for a big.
So something, let's call it on the order of 12 months, within the
Yeah.
next 12 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So, Carolyn Pugh, who's their new-ish policy manager, she's the lead on that project.
Okay.
And she's very knowledgeable. And I think you all will start to hear more about this before too long.
Good. All right, we've kept you for quite a while. Any last questions before we have Emily's, of course, welcome to stay, but she may quite rightly.
I might go eat St. Patrick's Day
Yeah.
dinner with my family.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
some call cannon.
We are having potatoes and cabbage.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
That's it.
You see lots of rounds of applause, a very good update, and we are sincerely appreciative. So
Yeah,
good
I
to see
appreciate
again.
you all having me. I'm happy to come back and come see me at council in June. And you know where to find me.
Okay.
Thank
So
you,
thank you,
Emily.
everybody.
Thank
Have a great
you.
night.